Hold up, Browns Nation. What I'm about to tell you might just blow your mind and change everything you thought you knew about this team's championship window. We're not talking about some minor roster shuffle or practice squad moves here. This is seismic. This is the kind of blockbuster that transforms franchises overnight and sends shockwaves through the entire AFC North. Terry McLaurin, Washington Commanders' star receiver, elite route runner, proven playmaker, and according to sources buzzing around the league right now, he could be suiting up in orange and brown sooner than anyone expected. Yeah, you heard that right. The Browns are reportedly making a serious push to land one of the most underrated receivers in the entire NFL, and this move could be the final piece that turns Cleveland from playoff hopeful into legitimate Super Bowl contender. But here's where it gets really wild. This isn't just about adding talent. This is about Washington essentially being forced into a corner and Cleveland swooping in like vultures to capitalize on what could be the steal of the decade. McLaurin is locked in a brutal contract standoff with the Commanders. The negotiations have hit a wall. The relationship is deteriorating fast. And with McLaurin set to hit free agency after this season, Washington is staring down the barrel of losing their best offensive weapon for absolutely nothing. Think about that for a second. You've got a receiver who just turned 29, still in his prime, who's caught over 1,000 yards in 3 of his last 4 seasons, and he's potentially available because his current team can't figure out how to pay him. This is exactly the kind of situation that smart front offices dream about, and Andrew Berry has built his reputation on making these calculated, opportunistic moves. Now, let me paint the picture of what McLaurin brings to this Browns offense, because it's not just about the numbers, though those are pretty spectacular. We're talking about a guy who creates separation at every level of the field. He's got that rare combination of speed and precision that makes defensive coordinators lose sleep. But more importantly, he's exactly what this Browns receiving core has been missing since, well, forever. Look at the current depth chart. Jerry Jeudy showed flashes last season, sure, but after him, things get sketchy real quick. Deontay Johnson has all the tools, but can't stay healthy. Cedric Tillman is still figuring out how to translate college production to NFL success. And everyone else, they're basically hoping for miracles at this point. McLaurin doesn't just fill a hole in this roster, he transforms the entire offensive identity. Picture this scenario. You got McLaurin running precise routes on one side, Jeudy creating matchup problems on the other, and suddenly defenses can't just key in on stopping the run anymore. Nick Chubb gets more room to operate. The play-action game becomes lethal. And whoever's throwing the ball, whether it's a veteran acquisition or one of these young guys they're developing, suddenly has legitimate weapons to work with. But here's the kicker, and this is where Cleveland's front office brilliance really shows. The trade package being discussed isn't just picks and prayers. Word around the league is that Greg Newsome could be part of the deal. Now, before you start panicking about trading away defensive talent, think about this strategically. Newsome is talented, no doubt, but he's also expensive and arguably expendable given Cleveland's depth in the secondary. Washington desperately needs help in their defensive backfield. They're looking at their roster thinking they need to get younger and more athletic on defense, especially if they're about to lose their offensive centerpiece. This creates the perfect storm for both teams. Cleveland gets their game-changing receiver. Washington gets a young, proven cornerback who can grow with their rebuilding timeline. And let's be brutally honest about the bigger picture here. The AFC North is becoming an absolute bloodbath. Baltimore just loaded up in free agency and continues to build around Lamar Jackson. Cincinnati, when healthy, remains one of the most dangerous offenses in football with Joe Burrow and Ja'Marr Chase. Pittsburgh is always going to find a way to stay competitive because that's just who they are. Cleveland can't afford to stand still and hope everyone else gets worse. They need to make moves that force other teams to respond to them for once. Trading for McLaurin isn't just about improving the offense, it's about sending a message that this franchise is done being patient, done building for some hypothetical future, and ready to go all in on winning right now. The timing couldn't be more perfect either. This isn't a team that's 1 or 2 years away from competing. The defense is already elite with Myles Garrett leading one of the most feared pass rushes in the league. The running game has proven weapons when healthy. The offensive line has improved dramatically. What they've been missing is that reliable, game-breaking receiver who can take over when games matter most. McLaurin has done exactly that throughout his career. He's made spectacular catches in clutch moments. He's produced with mediocre quarterback play. He's shown the kind of leadership and professionalism that championship teams are built around. Adding him to this locker room doesn't just improve the offense, it elevates the entire team's mentality and expectations. And here's something that should have every Browns fan excited. This move, if it happens, proves that the front office sees the same championship window that we've all been hoping exists. They're not making this trade if they think they need 3 or 4 more years to compete. This is the kind of move you make when you believe your window is right now, and you're willing to bet big on making most of it. The financial side makes sense too. McLaurin is looking for a long-term deal, and Cleveland has the cap space to make it work without mortgaging their future. They can lock him up as a cornerstone piece while still maintaining flexibility to address other needs. It's the kind of smart, aggressive roster building that separates contenders from pretenders. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. What about the risk? What if McLaurin doesn't mesh with the offensive system? What if injuries derail the season? What if this trade doesn't work out the way we're all hoping it will? Here's the thing about championship windows in the NFL. They don't stay open forever. You can't play it safe and expect different results. Cleveland has spent decades playing it safe, making conservative moves, hoping things would eventually work out. That approach got them exactly nowhere. Sometimes you have to take calculated risks on game-changing talent, and McLaurin represents exactly that kind of opportunity. The domino effects of this potential trade extend far beyond just adding one receiver too. Other free agents and trade candidates start looking at Cleveland differently when they see the organization making these kinds of bold moves. Young players on the roster see that the front office is serious about competing, which changes the entire culture and expectations in that building. Before we go any further, if you're loving this breakdown and want to stay ahead of every major Browns development, smash that like button right now and make sure you're subscribed to Browns Breakout. We're building something special here, and your support keeps us bringing you the insider analysis and breaking news that you can't find anywhere else. But back to McLaurin, and what this could mean for the immediate future. The AFC is absolutely stacked right now. Buffalo, Kansas City, Baltimore, Cincinnati, Miami when healthy, the list goes on and on. To compete with those teams, Cleveland can't just rely on defense and hoping their offense doesn't mess things up. They need explosive plays. They need a receiver who can take a 5-yard slant and turn it into a 60-yard touchdown. They need someone who can win one-on-one battles when games are on the line. McLaurin has proven he can do all of that and more. He's not just a good receiver, he's the kind of receiver who makes everyone around him better. Defenses have to account for him on every play, which opens up opportunities for Judy, for the tight ends, for the running backs in the passing game. Suddenly, you're not just adding one player, you're upgrading your entire offensive attack. The other thing that's flying under the radar here is what this does for whoever ends up playing quarterback. Whether it's a veteran acquisition, a draft pick, or someone already on the roster, having a reliable target like McLaurin takes so much pressure off the position. Young quarterbacks develop faster when they have weapons they can trust. Veteran quarterbacks perform better when they're not constantly worried about whether their receivers can get open or hold on to the ball. And let's not forget about the playoff implications. Cleveland has shown they can win ugly, grind-out victories with defense and running the ball. But in January, when you're facing elite teams with elite quarterbacks, you need to be able to match points and make plays in the passing game. McLaurin gives them that dimension they've been lacking. The more I think about this potential trade, the more it feels like one of those franchise-altering moves that people look back on as the moment everything changed. Cleveland has all the foundational pieces in place. They've got the defense, they've got the coaching, they've got the organizational stability. What they've been missing is that one offensive weapon who can take them from good to great. If this trade goes through, if they can lock up McLaurin with a long-term deal, if they can integrate him into the offense seamlessly, we could be looking at a completely different trajectory for this franchise. Not just playoff appearances, but legitimate Super Bowl contention. Not just competitive seasons, but sustained excellence. That's the kind of move that changes everything. That's the kind of bold decision-making that championship organizations are built on. And if Andrew Berry and this front office can pull it off, Browns fans might finally get to experience what they've been waiting decades to see. A team that doesn't just compete, but dominates. A team that doesn't just make the playoffs, but makes deep runs. A team that doesn't just talk about Super Bowl aspirations, but actually has the talent to make them reality. The next few weeks are going to be absolutely crucial for the direction of this franchise. Will they pull the trigger on this blockbuster move? Will they be willing to bet big on their championship window? Or will they play it safe and hope things work out differently this time? Based on everything we've seen from this front office, based on the aggressive moves they've made in the past, I have a feeling we're about to see them go all in once again. Browns Nation, this could be the move we've all been waiting for. This could be the trade that finally pushes this team over the edge and into legitimate Super Bowl contention. The excitement is building, the rumors are swirling, and the future has never looked brighter in Cleveland. Stay locked in, because this story is just getting started, and you don't want to miss what happens next.